Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builders Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the Major HIT-45TG6. It's a template guide, is what it is. I would also call this just a router guide. This is something that will attach to the base of your router and is usually a required piece of equipment when using a router, because when you're using a router, you're going to gauge or fence against something. Sometimes I would use just the base of the router against a straight edge when I'm prepping something, although that's pretty unusual to do that, but it can be done. And in fact, I will do that when I have a particular confined sort of space that I might need to move the router over. But in most instances, you're going to have, and most absolutely when you are working with a router inside of a template or inside of some other workpiece, this is what is going to prevent the router from moving in a direction that you don't want it to move in, one, and give you the net proper resultant prep that you need. And we're going to touch on that at length in a moment. First, let's give you some basic dimensional properties. Overall height of the guide, about 1.1 inches or so. The projection from what would be the bottom of the base, about 9/16. The most important dimension is the 5/8. 5/8 tells me that this is possibly for wood. Definitely 5/8. I mean, on the nose, 0.625. So, weighs about 1/10 of a pound. Now, let's talk specifically about where you are going to use this template guide. If you've not hit subscribe yet, we would very much appreciate if you did, and hopefully you're enjoying this video. Now, let's get back to it. So the HIT-45TG6 is specifically meant, being a TG, a template guide, 6, it's meant to be installed into Porter Cable, DeWalt, and newer model Craftsman routers. You'll know if you have an older model Craftsman router because I believe it will take a much larger diameter footprint of the guide, and I believe has 3 holes for screws that hold it to the base. This just has a retaining nut, and this is absolutely Porter Cable, which is my router of choice. And this template guide would be something that you would absolutely have in your toolbox because you never know when you'll need this. Now, its intended purpose is to be used with a major template. It can be used with any template provided that the 5/8 is the proper outside diameter for the guide based on how your template's been manufactured in terms of its opening size and the diameter of the router bit. So, if you needed to achieve a prep that was 6 7/8 by 1.25 inch, Hess 5000 series electric strike with a 503 faceplate, 6 7/8 by 1.25 inch. Okay. When you take that template and let's say you attach it to the door, the prep inside of the template itself isn't going to be 6 7/8 by 1.25 inch. That's the finished size you have to yield when you're done. The 2 variables that come into play are the diameter of the guide and then the diameter of the bit. Usually what you'll see is the size opening in the template will be larger than the radius of the router bit. So router bit radius plus finished size equal prep size in template. Now don't take that as gospel, but it's that type of logic that you're achieving. It also has everything to do with the relationship between the OD here and the ID of the bit. Okay, what I had said earlier just now, radius of the guide plus required finish size equal the prep size. You should, if you're going to achieve 6 7/8 by 1.25 inch, if you're using a 3/8 guide with a 1/4 inch router bit, you're going to have a prep of about 7 1/16 by 1 7/16. It'd be about what it is. So depending on the template that you're using, what you're prepping for, the diameter of your bit and the diameter of your router guide, all of that will conspire. There'll be a confluence of all that needing to work together to give you what you need at the end. It's very typical and very common for someone to say, well, I'm not really sure what's going on here, and you'll get a call door or you'll get a piece of wood and you'll test it before you go prepping it permanently. What will happen if you don't have the correct material, we can easily talk about right now. If you are enjoying this video, please click thumbs up or like, and also please consider subscribing to our channel. Let's move on to the rest of the video. And when I say correct material, I really mean the correct size bit and the correct size guide. So what happened one time was we sold the client about 20 sauce hinges, concealed or invisible hinges, and sent him the hinges and sent him the template as well. The client did not order the guide or the router bit. So set the job up, routed all 20 instances of the door hinge prep and 20 instances of the frame hinge prep. I believe he had 5 8-foot doors is what was happening. Client calls and says, boy, the hinges are great, the template is great, but I can't get the hinge in. In order to get the hinge in, I literally have to beat it with a mallet. So I pull up the order number and look and realize immediately, we didn't sell him the router guide and the bit. Doesn't mean he's got the wrong stuff, it just means we have to see what he has. And I says, well, tell me, what did you use for the router guide? Oh, I had one of those in my toolbox. What size is it? I'm not really sure. Okay, that's a tip-off. Well, what size did you use for the router bit? Oh, I know that was correct. 1/4 inch or whatever it needed to be. Turns out that his router guide was too large by 1/8 of an inch. Something in that range. The diameter of the router guide was too wide, so the net result prep he was getting in the door was just too small, slightly too small. So I am not advocating that you buy these at the time that you're buying the hardware, the template, everything you need to install the material. But it is sure awfully nice to know you've got the right item when you go to do the work. He had to go back and re-prep the entire job. The hard part was over, but he did have to go back and re-prep the entire job to fit those hinges in there. We were able to pull out of our inventory the guide and the router bit. He says, just give me everything, because when I'm done with the job, I want to take it all, put it together, write on there what it's for, and then I'll have it for next time, which he did. We overnighted him the right guide, the right bit, and he was as smooth as silk at that point. So that's what happens when you don't have the right stuff. Now, in this instance, his guide was too large. His holes were too small. Okay, you can go back and redo that. Had he used a template that was too small, he would have ruined the doors because his prep would have been too large. And there's no easy way out of that one. Let's switch to the screen view and let's take a look at some supporting information. If you've not hit subscribe yet, we would very much appreciate if you did, and hopefully you're enjoying this video. Now, let's get back to it. So here's the item that we're working on now on the website. HIT-45TG6. Let's take a look at the extended description. Template guide for Porter Cable, DeWalt, and newer model Craftsman routers, 5/8 OD, used with a 1/2 inch diameter router bit. That tells me that Major is going to create their templates based on deploying a 5/8 guide and a 1/2 inch bit. Those two together will equal what they're doing on their manufacturing of templates. You could use other diameters usually, just so long as the prep in the template is based on this. For routing faceplates, for mortise locks and strikes and wood doors, etc., etc., etc. When you buy one, we'll ship you one. There's a link to the product brochure here. Let's take a look at that. So this is probably out of the full line catalog, showing you a variety of items, but the one that most applies is the page just of the router guides. Ryobi, Sears, 45TG5, yeah, 3/8 guide for with a 1/4 inch bit, and then you got the 5/8 with a 1/2 inch. TG5, TG6. And also, if you are doing a job like you're prepping hinges with a 5/8 radius, you'll have a guide like this, but it'll be very, very big. You have to be able to fit that larger diameter bit into it as well. The HIT-45 RB4, this would make perfect sense for use when you are prepping an aluminum jam for a strike and you're using the 45TG5. Then over here you have your 1/2 inch. 45 RB8, that would be for the TG6. So really handy right there. We won't go through the rest of the product catalog because we'll touch on that elsewhere. Instructions, there shouldn't be too much to say here. Remove the base from your router. screw it on, it's obvious how it goes, and you're off to the races. So there's a link below this video as seen here to the manufacturer's page, and from here you can pull up not only all of the major products we sell by means of this horizontal navigation, as well as a link to the manufacturer's website as seen here, as well as a link to the product catalog. Now the product catalog is broken up into basically the first half and then the second half. About halfway through the catalog is where specialty installation tools starts. There's a cross-reference. So if you are doing that HIT-5000 strike I mentioned earlier, you can do a Control F or a find function. And I had said, and you can see here, 5,000 with a 4 7/8. We'll go to the next because we're doing 6 7/8. 4 7. 5,000 with a 6 7/8 faceplate for offset hung. That template would be the HIT-41, HIT-41 HS2. Let's search for that. Remove, Control F. Bingo. There's your template. And it tells you, requires a router with a 3/8 diameter template guide and a 1/4 inch bit. TG6 would work perfect if you've got DeWalt Porter cable, newer Craftsman. That's how that works. The entire second half of the catalog is all specialty installation tools, jigs, templates. The first half is security hardware. Cylinders, screws, parts that locksmiths would use to integrate higher security on clients' installations, specialty locks, so on and so forth. If you get involved at all in the integration of security hardware on clients' doors, this catalog is going to be nothing short of a substantial additional revenue stream for your business because of the solutions that these people provide. Let's talk about who these people are now. If you've not hit subscribe yet, we would very much appreciate if you did, and hopefully you're enjoying this video. Now, let's get back to it. I'm an unapologetic fan of the folks over at Major. They are straightforward. They are no nonsense. They are all business. They do a phenomenal job. They are experts when it comes to everything. Most certainly command over the subject matter. The primary gentleman that I speak to there is a self-professed tool nerd with an engineering background and decades of field experience. What that means is everything you see in the catalog, it's there because that fella was out in the field making all the mistakes, keeping you from having to make all the mistakes. And it's just really special that there's someone like Major out in the world. And as the years and decades continue on, the specialty locksmith tool manufacturer universe continues to shrink. And that's a bad thing, because in locksmithing, there is always, in my experience, multiple tools that you can use to get a job done. But there's always one tool that's better than the rest. Unfortunately, you end up accumulating all these specialty tools throughout your career, because if you're going to cap interchangeable core, you know, the saying that someone said to me many years ago, Rich, you can change spark plugs with a toothbrush. It's just not the right tool. So having the right tool is the key, and Major provides you, in many instances, the right tool for the job. There's multiple ways to get to a net finished installation with Major templates. Sometimes there's more than one path to get to the same result. Reach out to us for advice if you like on the best way to get there. And if I can't answer the question based on my actual experience, I will work with Major to get you the right answer. Any questions on the HIT-45TG6 router guide or any other Major product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you. Thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up, please subscribe, and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.